What time is the Shiur tomorrow, Tolly, again?
6.
Well, that's correct.
Well, the Son Gedalia is wrong.
Just
He
Son
wrote
Gedalia is wrong.
Son Gedalia. Have you got the timetable? He wrote, he put it as Sunday when it's not.
Not Monday, right?
And he put the wrong time. He put 10 past 6, but it should be 5 to 6.
Maybe we check it 6
on
o'clock.
YouTube.
Or 6 o'clock, yeah.
6 o'clock, okay.
So basically, it shouldn't be Sunday. That should be
Monday.
There. Should be Monday, and it should be 6 o'clock.
Very good, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
and then carries on.
Rest is okay.
I'll point out, yeah.
Okay, right, very good. Okay. It's a lot of background noise. We're holding by the Gemara on Daf Mem Aleph from Mud Aleph, about 15 lines from the top, maybe slightly more. The Gemara was discussing if a person's fasting on Friday, should he continue fasting all the way till Nacht, thereby gaining that he's fasting the entire day? Or should he stop before Nacht, thereby gaining that when he comes into Shabbos, he's not ma'una, he's not afflicted? That's the shayla of the Gemara. The Gemara brought a story that Rabbi Akiva once ate on Erev Shabbos, which was Tisha B'Av. The Gemara brings a machlokas why he ate. Either he ate because he held that you shouldn't come into Shabbos ma'una, or he ate because he was a chayla. And that's the machlokas. Now Rabbi Yossi says that what? What does Rabbi Yossi say? Rabbi Yossi says that you have to finish the entire time. So Rabbi Yossi says you mustn't stop. You have to fast the whole day. You can't stop before Nacht. Says the Gemara, Umi of Dinon ki Rabbi Yossi, do we actually follow Rabbi Yossi in this halacha that we fast the whole Friday? Uminu. The halacha was in the olden days, if there was a shortage of rain, the Gemara in Tanis, what did they used to do if there was a shortage of rain? They used to fast. How did they used to fast? They would say Monday, Thursday for the next few weeks. Oh, so what they would do is they would make a list of fasts. Now you try your best to make sure that none of those fasts would be a Rosh Chodesh or Chanukah, etc. But often it would be. Why? Because those fasts would be in the winter. So this brisa discusses this problem. What do you do if you've got to fast the lands of Rosh Chodesh? You don't decree a fast on those days. If you began the system on Monday, Thursday, and somehow it came to a Rosh Chodesh, you don't stop, and that you fast even on Rosh Chodesh, etc. Those days, let's say for example, Basin said next Monday, Thursday, Monday fast, and the next Thursday happens to be Rosh Chodesh. So Gamliel says that you fast. Says the halacha is, but you don't fast the whole day. You fast most of the day, not the whole day. The same thing regarding Tisha B'Av that falls on a Friday, that you don't fast the whole day. But Gamliel should say, after Gamliel was nifta, Nichnas to B'Shal offers the Vav, he wanted to change it. And he wanted to say that we do fast the whole day. Ahmad, you also have to follow the head. The whole body follows the head. And therefore, since Gamliel follow the halacha, we have to follow Gamliel. The whole always followed that Gamliel. Now you want to cancel just because he died. Yeshua and Shimon Gamliel. So you see that we pass like Gamliel, not like a Yossi. Not like a Yossi who says that we finish the whole day, but we stop in the middle. Answers the Gemara. So what happened was we did cancel him at a later stage, and therefore we no longer pass like a Gamliel, we pass like a Yossi, and therefore we are mashlim. So if this was to be a Friday, you'd have to fast the whole day. For the Gemara, Gamliel did even follow Gamliel for Tanya. Omar Rozvan Sadiq. I am from the family of the Sinah ben Binomin. Now what happened was that when the second Beis Hamikdash was built, there was a shortage of wood. Different people brought wood right at the beginning of the second Beis Hamikdash. And as a reward for the fact that they gave the wood at the beginning of the second Beis Hamikdash, they instituted that certain days, certain people, certain families were allowed to be the only ones to bring wood. So every family was about 11 families. 11 families got one day in the year where it's their schus to bring the wood from Mizbeach. Only them. Those days that they established that it was their turn to bring wood became a Yom Tov. No, because right at the beginning there was a shortage of wood. So imagine everybody donated. There was 11 families that donated a very lot. So those 11 families got this chus that till the one service was standing, they had the right one day a year to be the only ones to bring wood. On other days, anybody can bring wood. But for 11, it was by 11, there's one time it's discussed to them. So now what happened was those days, which was their turn to bring wood, they made it a Yom Tov, a personal Yom Tov, individual Yom Tov. So this family could sin up Ben Binomin. It was their turn to bring wood. Which day? The 10th of Av. The 10th of Av was their turn to bring wood. So that day became a Yom Tov for them. So what happened was like this. Once Tisha B'Av was a Shabbos, so what do you do with the Chinur Shabbos? And they pushed off Tisha B'Av to a Sunday. So now Tisha B'Av fell on the day which was a Yom Tov for that family. It was their turn to bring the wood. So it was a Yom Tov. So therefore, Tisha B'Av was the same day as the Yom Tov. We didn't finish the Tanis. Tama the Yom Tov, only because it was actually a Yom Tov, because it was the 10th of Av, the day which they were going to, and that was the Yom Tov. Or Erev Yom Tov. Had their Tanis fallen there, if Tisha B'Av would have been the day before, Mashlimin. So we see not like Gamliel. Gamliel says we're not Mashlim. There's a difference between individual Yom Tov and a public Yom Tov. Individual Yom Tov, there are two colors. Color number one, you're allowed to fast for a few hours. On an individual, on a Shabbos, there are two mahalchim. Some say there was Tisha B'Av. Either this family lived at the time of the Beis Hamikdash, of the second Beis Hamikdash, and they were keeping Tisha B'Av because of the first Beis Hamikdash. And some say it was descended from them, and he kept the Yom Tov even afterwards. I don't want to get into it. I wasn't sure whether you noticed it. Descendants. The question is, but when did they keep the Yom Tov? During the second Beis Hamikdash only, and then they were keeping Tisha B'Av even while. Yeah, they also kept Tisha B'Av from the first Beis Hamikdash. Yes. That's the Shiur. Did they keep it forever? And this will talk about after the second Beis Hamikdash, or is this during the second Beis Hamikdash? Because the first Beis Hamikdash was also destroyed on Tisha B'Av. Right. It's actually a pasuk in, I think, Ezra, where he says Sema Chamishi, Sema Asiri. Sema will be the number of fasts, and he's talking after, not before the second Beis Hamikdash, because it was long before the second Beis Hamikdash was even nobody destroyed it yet. The halacha, that means all the Tanaisim were established by the first Beis Hamikdash. In fact, we don't really, the Tanaisim were established only because of the first Beis Hamikdash, because the destruction of the first Beis Hamikdash was more damaging in the sense that the second Beis Hamikdash never reached that grandiose. Okay, so the Maisa, so again, the Gemara says like this: you cannot compare an individual Yom Tov to a public Yom Tov. An individual Yom Tov, you're allowed to fast for a few hours, and you're allowed to fast the day before. So you're allowed to fast even we stop it for Shabbos. A public fast, we don't stop for Shabbos, and you're not allowed to fast for hours. So once again, because you fast a bit of hours on that Yom Tov, you can fast the day before. Shabbos, since you're not allowed to fast for a few hours, you're not allowed to finish the day before. So therefore, on Erev Shabbos, Gamliel held you're not allowed to. But in Maisa, we don't paskin like this. And we paskin that what? That you are allowed to fast. That you are allowed to fast Erev Shabbos. But even Gamliel says you're not allowed to fast Erev Shabbos, it's only Erev Shabbos, but Erev private Yom Tov you're allowed to. Rav Yosef, the famous halacha, the famous story event. Rav Yosef was a huge Talmid Chacham. He got not well, he forgot his learning. So many times he would say to his Talmidim, I don't remember this. And his Talmidim would say, what do you mean you don't remember it? You taught it to us. You taught it to me. Ain't good in times like we pass, and they're not allowed to make a time for the Chodesh. And if you do, then according to Gamliel, you have to fast. So you do fast if Rosh Chodesh, let's say based and set up a system, and they say next Monday, Thursday, Monday, you have to fast. One of the days happens to be Rosh Chodesh, then you have to fast the whole day. Ma'ilava kulu, even on Erev Shabbos. Says, well, look, a Chanukah or Purim is only by Chanukah or Purim, but Erev Shabbos you don't fast. Hochadamim is Shabbos, says, well, I'll prove it to you. Memala from a base. If you hold that you fast the whole day, even, that means even on Erev Shabbos, or Rabbi asked Rabbi Yehuda, do you fast the whole Erev Shabbos? He never taught it to him. And according to you, Rabbi Yehuda already said that, that you don't fast. Sorry. So that according to the Chachamim, according to Gamliel, you don't fast. According to the Chachamim, you do fast. So why did Rabbi Yehuda not know? Says the Gemara. According to you, it's also not good. That you have to fast and complete a he also never knew. Meaning, you cannot prove from the fact that they asked this question and the question was never resolved that this statement is not true. Rather, what happened was there was two different stages. When they were asked the question, they had never heard about it, but later they heard about it. So for the fact that they never resolved the question doesn't mean that the statement is not true. It's simply they hadn't yet heard it. At a later stage, they heard it. So Ma'asim will come out like this. The Ma'asim, we've got Machlekes of Gamliel and Chachamim, a double-fold Machlekes. One Machlekes is, do you fast on Rosh Chodesh if it's one of the three fasts which Basin set up? And another one, do we fast on Erev Shabbos the whole day? And both times we pass the Lechumah that you do fast the whole day. And on Rosh Chodesh, that we pass that you have to be mashlim. Now, if you look at the top Tosfos on Daf Malach on a vase, it brings the machlokes Rishonim. Do you have to be mashlim, or can you be mashlim? And this is brought down regarding Yasor B'Tevis. Again, we pass the Lechumah that you have to be mashlim. Okay. Had a lot of Chamav, Mazel Tov, finish the perk, a very big perk actually. There are a lot of halachas, big simcha on the last day of the year to finish a perk. It's a tremendous chus. What? Yes, and Yomi, that's why fasting. Oh. Now, if a person goes out of the tchum, then what happens is he's only given 4 amos, right? That means he's only allowed to stay 4 amos. The machlokes is showing him, more discuss actually a bit, is the 4 amos in each direction, which would give him an area of 8 by 8, quite a big area, or is it 4 amos, only 2 by 2? That's a shaila. Okay. He only gets 4 amos. Says the Mishnah, let's say a person was forced out of his place. That means he went out of the tchum ba'oinas, either through goyim or he went crazy. And the craziness took him out of the tchum. He still only gets 4 amos. Why? Because at the end of the day, he's out of the tchum, so he's only got 4 amos. But if he came back through the goyim, so as if he never went out. And what's the halacha? He's allowed to carry on walking ever. Let's say this was the tchum, and he took 4 amos. He went out, so then he only gets 4 amos. Now, if he went out ba'oinas and he came back ba'oinas, then what's the halacha? Then he's allowed to walk everywhere. What happens if he went out b'mezid and he came back b'mezid? What would you say? Then he's only allowed. He can only go 4 amos, even though now he's actually back in his tchum. Going out, they said going out of the tchum. So even though he's now back in his tchum, imagine a person on purpose walks out 2,000 amos, and then he realizes, oh, I shouldn't have done that. He walks back in, he's not allowed to walk more than 4 amos. They took him to another city. They put him in an enclosure for animals or any kind of enclosure. You can walk everywhere because since he went out for oinus, and they took him to a place which got a wall around it, so it's like it's 4 amos. He's only got 4 amos. That means if they forced him out and they took him to an enclosed area, we have a machlokes how far he can move. It says, well, he came from a place called Pardesim, and it traveled far into the sea. They went everywhere. Why? Because a ship is considered like walls. Where are the walls? Does anybody know? You lose the walls below the deck. The deck doesn't have any walls. But since this 10 tefachim going up like that, so therefore, we imagine the walls go up. So therefore, it's considered the walled city. And it was an oinus. Why was it oinus? Because the ship moved out against their wish. I'm going to show Rabbi Akiva lo yizozim b'dad amos. They never went more than 4 amos. Shirotzu lahachmir alas, they want to be machmir, which is a question. Why does Mishnah say they want to be machmir on themselves? This is their shit that they're not allowed to walk more than 4 amos. Says well, pamachas the nichnas l'nomar shechashecha. Once they were going by a ship, and they never came to port until it was dark. So the question was like this: if they came more than 2,000 amos away on Shabbos, then therefore they're not allowed to move. But if they're already within 2,000 amos of the shore, then they've done anything wrong. So they said, they were allowed to come off the ship. I was checking before Shabbos came in, we were within 2,000 amos of the port, and therefore we're okay. How can you measure 2,000 amos when you're on the ship and you're looking to the port? How can you know if you're 2,000 amos away? The more discusses it. It's interesting how we're okay. Says well, since we talk a little bit about Ruach, what says a bit about Galata. Three things a person stop a person from living his own mind and go against Hashem. A person goes against Hashem if he has these 3 things. Eiruvin, Goyim can force a person. Ruach, craziness. But Diktuki Anias, if a person has exacting of poverty, it doesn't mean just being poor. It means diktuk, being constantly careful about skimping about every penny. There's an interesting conscious of Chaim Philander wrote called and he writes a very, very interesting thing that when it comes to your wife, you have to be very, very careful not to check on every purchase that she makes. He says
not everyone, only big ones.
No, he says he shouldn't, and sometimes he says women need to buy something for no reason at all. He doesn't say. He says, but he says that the person has to be very careful with this Gemara. But the Gemara says that can go a person off his, can go against Hashem. Oh, the Gemara carries on. The Ma'anaf Kiminus. What difference does it make? They should daven never to have these 3 things. Gimel Shlosh and Roim for Gehenna will never see Gehenna. These things are so difficult that you have such a terrible life that you'll never see Gehenna. Poverty. The stomach aches are so painful that a person thinks. But Shus, 2 Mahalchim. Rashi says a Shus, somebody who's constantly in debt. Teresa says somebody who's got the government always on his case. What? Why is it his fault? That's what the Gemara says. Therefore, gets to Gehenna because he suffers. If he has it, he doesn't get any Gehenna. He has a difficult wife, and he says his wife is very constantly arguing with him. The Eidach says, well, he should have divorced her. Since he should have divorced her, it's his problem, so he goes to Gehenna. The Eidach sometimes he can't afford to divorce her. He's got children, they must go. The man asking what difference make they don't see Gehenna. They can put him out to accept it with love. That means if a person suffers, let's say, from stomach aches, he shouldn't get so unhappy. On the contrary, he should be happy. Because suffering from stomach aches means that he won't together. 3 people die even while they look well. That means you have to be extremely careful they might die. Some cases, a woman giving birth, a kind of illness which is in the mouth. I don't know, I was going to say the hydropsy or something. We don't know exactly what it is. To prepare tachrichim for these people, if they're looking not well, alternatively, it means that they should be constantly wary of doing tshuva. Because at any moment they could die, because these people, they look well and they could suddenly die. Okay. This is the end of the Gemara of the Agadata. These things become in Mishnah, because Mishnah says Ruach. The next Gemara is very, very straightforward. I just want to say it outside, because Gemara goes back and forth. A person who goes out b'mezid, how many amos is he allowed to walk? That's definitely 4. What's my raya? Because the Mishnah says if you're going force me out, I'm only allowed 4. If I go out b'mezid, if going force me out, and I walk back b'mezid, how much would I be allowed? What's your raya? Because the Mishnah says if going forced me out and going forced me in, I'm allowed to walk wherever I want. But if I walk out b'mezid, or I come back b'mezid, you can be medayek from the Mishnah that you're not allowed to walk more than 4 hours. That's what the Gemara says. Well, the Gemara says like this. Rav Nachman said it as an halacha, and the Gemara was bothered. Why did he need to say it as a halacha? Why couldn't he just tell us from our Mishnah? It says like this. The person went out on purpose. Then go 4 hours. Then what pshita? If going took you out by force in Abamas, also the das before you need to teach me such a thing. He meant something else. That if a person was forced out and he came back on purpose, It only has 4 Amos. Only when Goyim took you back in. So what's the chiddush? He said that if you come back by choice, you only get 4 Amos. The Mishnah says that because Mishnah says if Goyim forced you out and Goyim forced you back in, you only have 4 Amos. But it's mashron. Otherwise, then you're allowed to walk wherever you want. But if you came in by choice, you've got 4 Amos. If a person went out on purpose and then Goyim picked him up and took him back in Alabama, he only got 4 Amos. That means slightly different case. Where he went out on purpose, but he came back by force, he only gets 4 Amos. Even that you can be medayek. How can you be medayek that? Because the Mishnah says that they took him by force and they took him out back by force. If the halacha would be that if a person went out by das and he came back by force, it would be different. The Mishnah couldn't need to come on to a case of being taken out and in by force. So it says, as if it never went out. Then it never went out. That means the Mishnah would have told us a much bigger chiddush that even if he went out on purpose and he came back in is allowed. The fact that the Mishnah only allows you to walk wherever you want in a case where you are both an onus on the way out and an onus on the way in teaches you that in any other case, either you are not an onus on the way out or not an onus on the way in, you're not. Says the Gemara, you could have read the Mishnah as the Mishnah is telling us 2 separate halachas. Either if they took you out by force and you came back in on purpose, or if you went out on purpose and you came back in by force, since in the end of the day, part of the journey was done by onus, and now you're back into the tchum which you originally started out of, therefore you should be allowed to walk anywhere. You might have thought that's Pshat the Mishnah. That's not what the Mishnah means. The Mishnah means that and to be mutter to walk anywhere within the tchum, you have to have been onus both on the way in and on the way out. As well, no. The Mishnah is telling us 2 different things. We should see people went out on purpose, not that you have to have both by force. It's not 2 different stories. It's not that if you went out by force or you came in by force, you've got wherever. No, you're only allowed to walk wherever if by onus you came in and onus came out. He's only got 4 Amos. He's 2,000 Amos away because he went out the tchum. He needs to go to the bathroom. Machlekes is showing him, do we mean for number 1 for urinating or for number 2 for gedolim? That means the problem is he doesn't want to go where he is because then he's going to spend the rest of Shabbos there. Cover the beers pushes where lav in the Torah. Says Rashi, not any lav, only a list of sim to our bottom, on which it says tchumin to our bottom. So therefore he's allowed. That means if he was taken out by force, not if he went out on purpose, but if he was taken out by force, he needs to look for a bathroom. The halacha is, says the Vitzvah, he has to find the first private area. But he's allowed to walk in the direction of the tchum. And if the first private area is inside his tchum, so then he's allowed to walk everywhere in the tchum. Because he came in by force. That means he went out by force and he forced back in because of the bathroom. And the Vitzvah says even a bigger chiddush. No, if he went out Mesa, it won't work. Because he went up Mesa, then even if he comes in by back by force, he's only got 4 Amos. It's only if he went out by force. Let's say Goyim took him out, and the Mitzvah is a very nice chiddush, which we pass tonight. This is called by force because these goes back. That not only is he allowed to look for the first private place, after he finds that private place, he's then allowed to walk further to avoid the smell. So what happens is, let's say he walked out at 200 Amos, past his 2,000 Amos by force. So then he starts walking towards his tchum to find a private spot, because he has to find the first private spot there he has to go. Let's say, for example, he finds one straight away. He's not allowed to walk further and say, I want a different private spot. After that, he's allowed to walk till the smell doesn't disturb him. So if by the time he's finished, he's back in the tchum, so then he's considered having come in by force, and then he's allowed to walk anywhere in the tchum. But if not, then he can't, and he's stuck for the whole Shabbos, only 4 Amos. The next Gemara really goes all the way down and based on Aleph, so we're going to have to stop here. In Mitzvah Hashem, on what time did you say? 6 o'clock on Rosh Hashanah, and on Sunday, both days 6 o'clock. And 3 days it's going to be 6 o'clock. It's same Gedalia, and it'll be before.
Yeah. How can we work out that if we did it for Shogeg and cover Cholov and Mesa because Chol becomes Shogeg after Mesa?
No, but the slow would be that if the halacha would be that by Shogeg is allowed to walk everywhere, then you can have a lechaim. I'm not sure. The point is, I can't anyway. I'm so tired. If I have whiskey now, I won't be able to do anything.
Leaving the laptop with you?
Not really. Is there any reason to?
No, I'll leave it in it.
To leave it to. No, because Mishnah would have talked about shogeg and this bigger chiddush. Very good. The Chaim the big suchas.
Sorry,
Having
one or not?
Have we stopped it?
No, I haven't. Oh, sorry, I didn't say
Still
it.
there.
It's still being recorded.
That's all right.
Chaim.
Tiny